Hi, I'm a Sand Recap and this is a movie to get, where the crawdads sing. A female individual who grew up in the swamps of the southern United States becomes a suspect in the killing of a person with whom she had a previous relationship. On October 30, 1969, a body is discovered while two young children are riding bicycles through North Carolina's woods. They immediately call for assistance out of fear. Two police officers arrive shortly thereafter and begin their investigation of the scene. Chase Andrews, the wealthy businessman's son, is mentioned by one of them. Surprisingly, the area does not contain any footprints. After that, the police suspect Chase fell from a nearby tower, so they begin climbing it. A shattered grate awaits them once they reach the summit. Both of them are divided by this. The first cop is of the opinion that Chase was pushed and killed, while the second cop is of the opinion that it was a mistake. The body's autopsy report is shown in the next scene. It makes clear that Chase passed away as a result of the fall, but something didn't quite add up. He should have been found with his injuries facing downward, but he was found facing upward. The police immediately conclude that it is a homicide upon hearing this. They do not, however, have any evidence at all, not even fingerprints. Fortunately, the doctor is aware of where to begin. He gives them a little piece of red fabric he found on Chase's body. Later, while the police are drinking in a bar, they hear some people talking about the recent murder. Due to her bad relationship with Chase, everyone believes that a local girl by the name of 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐫𝐞 Clark is responsible for the murder. The police head toward 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐫𝐞's house with this information. It is a tiny house close to a swamp. They see a collection of books and shells as they look around. Additionally, they acquire a red cap, which may be the same fabric whose fibers were discovered on Chase's corpse. In the meantime, 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐫𝐞 can be seen hiding in the woods away from them. She tries to flee at the right time, but the police eventually catch up to her. 𝐒𝐲𝐽 doesn't respond when they ask her why she was running. As a result, she is detained. She is later seen confined to a cell. Tom Milton, a local lawyer, shows up and asks her if she would like his services. 𝐒𝐲𝐽, on the other hand, stays silent. She almost seems to be concealing something very deep. By revealing that she will be tried for murder, Tom tries to persuade her. She will almost certainly be found guilty at a court hearing in the near future. When 𝐒𝐲𝐽 hears this, she gets scared and finally talks about her life. The first time she talks about her childhood, the movie switches to a flashback. 𝐒𝐲𝐽 lives with her 4 siblings and parents in 1953. They appear to be a happy family on the surface, but the reality is quite the opposite. Her mother is always subjected to unjustified punishment from her drunken father. She then abruptly leaves one day because she has had enough. After that, each of her 4 siblings left the house one at a time. 𝐒𝐲𝐽 is now left in the care of her alcoholic father. The latter seeks seafood, mussels, in the nearby swamp. Additionally, 𝐒𝐲𝐽 makes every effort to assist her father at work. They go to a nearby store to sell it after they have finished their day's collection. The proprietor of the shop, kind Mrs. Mabel, frequently provides 𝐒𝐲𝐽 with food and clothing. Even though she admits her to a school, the young girl is immediately targeted by the bullies. As a result, she flees, vowing never to return. She connects more with her father over the course of the day, and he also begins to be nicer. 𝐒𝐲𝐽 gets a letter from her mother one day, but since she can't read it, she asks her dad to read it for her. Sadly, he becomes enraged as soon as he goes through it and yells at the young girl, "Your mom is not coming back." The drunken person then burns all of her mother's possessions from the house. Little 𝐒𝐲𝐽 is profoundly affected by the incident, but she had no idea that this would only be the beginning of her problems. She wakes up the following morning to discover that her father has also left. She is no longer in the care of anyone. Nonetheless, 𝐒𝐲𝐽 never gives up. She buys things in exchange for the mussels she collects from the swamp. Additionally, Mrs. Mabel occasionally assists her with grocery shopping. 𝐒𝐲𝐽 receives a lovely dress from Mrs. Mabel in the present, which she chooses to wear to her first court hearing. The attorney, Tom, suggests that she admit the crime while presenting it as an accident. She would receive a maximum sentence of 8 to 10 years in prison for this. 𝐒𝐲𝐽, on the other hand, insists that she is not a murderer and desires to be released from prison as soon as possible. Chase's family lawyer makes every effort to establish 𝐒𝐲𝐽's guilt before the hearing begins. He says that nobody else would have a better plan to kill Chase than him. 𝐒𝐲𝐽 had a lot of love for him and wanted to marry him, but he never did. She probably called him to the tower and threw him out of there for this reason. The crowd also begins to turn against 𝐒𝐲𝐽 when they hear all of this. They are certain that she was the killer. Fortunately, Tom also succeeds as a lawyer. He claims that the crime scene did not contain any footprints, so it is unfair to accuse 𝐒𝐲𝐽 without any evidence. She enters yet another flashback in the interim. 1963 is the year. 𝐒𝐲 has matured into a stunning young woman. She still does everything on her own and lives alone in her house. 𝐒𝐲 has also developed a strong interest in the natural world, so whenever she has free time, she simply wanders the woods and takes in the peace and quiet. However, a beautiful feather will be left for her at some point. She gets another one the next day. 𝐒𝐲 will have received a few of these feathers and letters by the end of the week. Then, one evening, a man by the name of Tate Walker comes up to her and tells her that he has been sending those gifts. He asks her if she read the letters, and 𝐒𝐲 says, in a sad voice, "I can't read." Fortunately, Tate is a nice guy who is always willing to assist. He begins instructing 𝐒𝐲 in reading and writing. They practice writing together in the woods for the first few days. After that, once 𝐒𝐲 has gained enough confidence, she takes Tate home and asks him to teach her anything he can. 𝐒𝐲 smiles once more slowly but surely, and the two of them bond more deeply. We learn that Tate is an ambitious student who wants to attend a prestigious university in the following scene. He has applied to a few, and he is waiting to hear back. He asks 𝐒𝐲 if she wants to go to the city with him one day, but she says no. 𝐒𝐲, who has lived her entire life in the swamp, believes she has no place in the city. He gives up because Tate knows she won't change her mind. After a few months, the two of them are now together. They frequently go for walks or make out in the woods. They almost have sexual relations one day when things get so romantic between them. Tate, on the other hand, backs out at the last moment, claiming that he has no intention of causing her any harm. He is afraid of carrying her. Tate finally receives the longed-for information the following day. His dream college, Dartmouth, has granted him admission. He goes right to 𝐒𝐲 to tell her the good news, but instead of being happy, she becomes angry. It turns out that she is opposed to his departure. Tate mentions that going to Dartmouth is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and that he wants to do something with his life. However, 𝐒𝐲, who has never taken classes, considers it a waste of money and time. She then flees, declaring that all boys are the same. They remain apart from one another for a few days. Tate, on the other hand, spends some quality time with 𝐒𝐲 at her home on the final night before he leaves. He tells her the next morning that she knows everything there is to know about the place's fauna and flora. Therefore, Tate suggests that she write a book and send it to a list of publishers. 𝐒𝐲 asks if their relationship is over and thanks him for it. Tate responds by promising that he will meet her on July 4th. 𝐒𝐲 returns to her monotonous life now that he is gone. She does, however, have something to do now. She has begun writing books about the region's animals and plants, as Tate suggested. After a few months, the 4th of July is finally here. To welcome Tate back, 𝐒𝐲 arrives at the beach early in the morning. He doesn't show up, sadly, even after waiting for hours. When 𝐒𝐲 thinks he has left her for someone else, she breaks down in tears. In the present, the officer who conducted the initial investigation is summoned to the court. Without further ado, he begins to support Chase and explains that the corpse lacked any footprints or fingerprints. He believes they were cleverly deleted by someone. Tom responds that high tides, which are prevalent in the vicinity, might have erased the prints. He then pulls out a petition from a year ago that claims the tower has been severely damaged. Climbing it puts their own lives in danger. The entire crowd becomes perplexed upon hearing this, and the case shifts in 𝐒𝐲's favor. The movie then takes a brief detour into the past, this time to 1968. 𝐒𝐲 has already moved on from Tate because she left several years ago. She comes across some government officials inspecting her home one day. Mrs. Mabel responds that they are hotel developers who are purchasing land to construct hotels when she inquires about it. 𝐒𝐲 is shocked because she is unable to even consider leaving the house. As a result, she gathers and sends the developer all of the necessary paperwork for her house.